Welcome to the Fantasy Football Prophet podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprophet.com. And now your hosts, Craig and Jeff.
Welcome everyone to the Fantasy Football Prophet podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey, and today figured we'd do a little, mid-season summary of what's going on so far in fantasy football. We're through 8 weeks. So if you're in a normal, let's say, league that goes through 16 weeks of the season, we're halfway through, count playoffs. So might as well just see, go over who's been the stars, who's been valuable, least valuable, who's disappointed, all that. And we'll go over talk about what we've been right on, and maybe I'll talk about what we've been wrong on too. I guess we should have full transparency. There's been a few of those calls.
Yeah, it's funny going back and looking at, especially preseason polls. When we do those, when you have, just the initial information, it's hilarious to see that, and you feel really good when you hit on one, and then you read a couple more, and you're like, oh, okay, not always right on.
So how about let's talk about let's do MVP. Let's start with the big award. Who is your current MVP of the fantasy football season? Who would be your MVP if you had to choose right now?
If I had to choose right now, my MVP would be Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, mine too. Kareem Hunt is my MVP, actually. That's exactly what I was going to say. It's not even just he's been great, it's also where you drafted him. He's by far, to me, the MVP of the season. It's pretty clear cut for once. And honorable mentions, probably like Todd Gurley, maybe.
Yeah, I was
player
say, Todd Gurley could easily be up, in that slot.
Wish we would have seen that coming, but
yeah, it's hard to give it to a quarterback, but there's a few of those guys that have been, very good as well. But I think Kareem Hunt, Gurley are probably the front runners for sure.
Yeah, and I don't see it stopping. Whenever you can get a guy, especially if you drafted before the Spencer Ware injury and you got Kareem Hunt, then you're really loving your team right now.
Oh, yeah, loving life.
And it's almost pretty much, actually, most teams that drafted Kareem Hunt are in pretty good shape because he was probably, at absolute best, your second running back when you drafted him. So you're in pretty good shape. So he's my MVP, your MVP. What about least valuable? Who do you think would be your least valuable player on this year if you had to pick one? Try to come up with one.
What do you mean, like the biggest disappointment?
Just the guy, I guess he can be something like that. Not counting injury, just a player that's
I won't talk
Okay,
about
I'll say mine. My player is probably going to be Isaiah Crowell.
Ooh.
Even despite last week he finally got a touchdown, he was ranked top 15 for sure and bordering on top 10 in some people's ranks. And he's just been terrible.
I mean, that's a very good pick. There's probably some other running backs, but the one that sticks out in my head that's been the biggest disappointment is Terrell Pryor.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I was even lower than most people, but if he's still in, he's ranked in the top 20, you wasted a giant pick on him. So, I think that's the one that really shocked me the most. And before that, you could easily say Amari Cooper as well, but he finally had a good game. So I think people are probably
a game at least, yeah.
A reprieve for a moment.
Yeah, otherwise it probably would have been Cooper. That's for sure.
Otherwise it would have been for me too if he didn't have that giant week.
All right, now I'm going to go look through some of our lists we've done. Let's just talk about how some of these calls we made, what worked out, what didn't. We actually made our preseason awards, our MVPs. Mine was Bell. Yours was David Johnson. So you get, it's whatever for Johnson. Doesn't count injury. Bell for me, he's been good. He's been perfectly fine. It's just the other, Kareem Hunt stepped up. You wouldn't have known that.
And, but was Bell number 4?
Yeah, he's
could
perfectly
easily
fine.
End number 1 still.
Now, our second one we did on preseason awards probably doesn't look as good for either of us. But this is the nature of the category. It's called unexpected bust. So it's something that shouldn't happen necessarily, and we were just trying to call one.
Oh, I already know. Yeah.
And it's not even like it's terrible. Mine was Jordan Howard. Yours was Lamar Miller, right? If I remember right.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's not been terrible. Jordan Howard, for a second there, I thought I might have it.
Yeah, for
early
a moment,
on.
but let's be honest, the guy is going to be firmly in the top 10.
Yep, he's been perfectly fine. And Lamar Miller, again, he hasn't been great.
But he's
decent enough. He's about where he should be. So
he should have been drafted.
We weren't quite right on that, but again, the category was a tough one to pick anyway. It was kind of we would have had to pick Crowell and those the least valuable guys. Maybe even J.J. Maybe he could end up being that one if he continues the way he's been going. So, bounce back players. Yeah, I don't remember I don't have your list in front of me, so I can't remember who you picked.
I know who I picked. I definitely picked Keenan Allen.
Yeah, and he's been fine. It's just he's been fine.
He hasn't been performing as well as I thought he was going to, but at the same time, I think he's ranked 17th, and once again, he's 17th and he only has one touchdown, so he's been playable.
He's been week. Perfectly fine.
I still expect a little more out of the guy.
Mine was John Brown.
He never quite got around.
He's just been he was hurt for a bit, not quite doing it. Now it's not going to happen with no Carson Palmer. Just not ever living up to what he used to be, and I'm kind of disappointed. I thought he had the talent there, and I think at this point we're just I'm kind of writing him off. Might be wrong to write him off already, but in his career, right. I'm just kind of done with it. Yeah. Breakout player, I had Devontae Parker. Injuries have slowed him down again, and you know what? That could be worrisome for the future because it seems to be an ongoing thing with him.
MO.
And I don't remember who you were. I don't have your list. I don't know your breakout.
My breakout player, who would it have been?
Go back and listen if you want to find out. Preseason awards episode.
I can't even remember who. I'll have to think about that one.
That was the only one I don't have. Then deep sleeper of the year. Mine was D.D. Westbrook. Got injured. Didn't play at all. Coming back this week, though. And it's going to work out yet, Jeff. This is going to be spot on. D.D. Westbrook. It's going to be the deep sleeper of the year.
We finally get to figure it out.
And then I think yours was possibly Deontay Foreman.
Yeah, Deontay Foreman.
Yep.
I know we had like a list of 5, right?
Yep. It was
so I know I had Deontay Foreman and Chris Hogan on that list, and then probably 3 that haven't done anything.
Yep.
So, but
well, that was for the preseason. Okay, I got the deep sleepers here. This is interesting. Deep sleeper picks we had for the year. These were players that were ranked beyond 60th at their positions going into the draft or the season. So that's really that's pretty deep down there. So there's some hits, Jeff, and there's some misses for you.
Really, yeah. What are they?
Number 1, Zay Jones.
Oh man, I still can't believe he's been so bad. But yeah, I completely missed on him. It was set up for him to do well, and he just hasn't lived up to what he needed to do as a rookie. But that's understandable. Number
2, you had Deontay Foreman. He made the list. You know, it's there. It's potential's there.
Yeah, you see at least where my head was at. It's kind of showing up, but it hasn't happened yet.
Number 3, Chris Hogan. Definitely a good pick. Yeah, that was a great pick there, especially of guys.
Top 10 wide receiver.
And he was beyond 60th at the time when we made the ranks. That's a great pick. Number 4, get a pass, Donnell Pumphrey from Philly.
Oh, yeah. Exactly.
Would have been interesting to see what would have happened because no one really took a stranglehold on the backfield.
Yeah, it's too bad.
Number 5, Kenny Galladay. Looked like it was happening. Injuries have happened since.
I actually almost forgot about Galladay. It was like 1 week where I thought I was a genius, and then he disappeared.
My list isn't any. Yours is probably better than mine. Marquise Lee was my number 1, which I guess for a player beyond 60th, he's been decently playable.
Yeah.
So it's fine. Chris Conley got hurt. He really wasn't doing much before that. DeAndre Washington, put at number 3, kept waiting something's going to happen with Lynch, and it did, but Washington and Richard just split everything completely. So it hasn't really done anything. Who knows?
Yeah, not the worst pick, though, honestly, there. He still had a few games.
My number 4, Paul Richardson.
Actually, that one is interesting. That one actually might turn out to be something.
Good week last week, so it looks out pretty good. And then 5 was Rex Burkhead, who's been hurt as well. Yeah. Came back. There still might be something there, but
it's kind of a crowded backfield at the
can't really do much. So, I mean, some of these players are interesting, though.
Yeah.
It's, for when you go beyond 60 at that position and you hit on a Chris Hogan, that's huge. Like, that's a top 10 guy. So I really like that one. How about our super deep sleepers? Just made one list for super deep. This is an interesting list too. It's very, very hard to hit this.
What was the number that we put on this one?
It had to be beyond 80. So
all right.
So my number 1 guy was Orleans Darkwa, and you know what? I think for having 1 week worthwhile and possibly being a starting running back, I like that for a super deep sleeper, right?
Yeah, he still has the possibility to continue doing well, and that's especially when he was supposed to be the 3rd string.
Yep. Number 2, Buck Allen.
That's another great one. That's really good.
We're better when we go super deep, right?
When you have nothing to lose.
Yeah, we're better. Number 3, George Kittle. He's a starting tight end, I guess. He's not really doing too much. But number 4, Brandon Coleman. He had 1 week, maybe 2 weeks, not really done much. And Tywan Taylor was number 5, who had, again, 1 week. I feel good as long as they've all had at least one fantasy-relevant week. But, hit the top 2. If you can hit those top 2 running backs beyond 80, it's kind of nice. It's kind of interesting to look at some of these and just see where we are at.
Yeah.
Overvalued players, Jeff.
God, dude, it's just gonna be I feel like Lamar Miller comes up on every one of my lists.
Jeff, you're not gonna like this list.
Is it really bad?
It's gonna start off okay. Number 1, Cam Newton.
I have him and Russell Wilson on this, don't I?
You do.
Dude, and both of them had down weeks. Well, Cam Newton is still kind of hit or miss.
Yes, Cam might be okay. Yeah,
I think and this was also compared to where they're being drafted, which is a very important thing. Because I think Wilson and Cam were both in the top 10.
Yep.
Possibly in the top 8, both of them.
Yep.
So Cam Newton, I still feel okay about. Wilson has definitely proven me wrong, but he did start off very, very weak.
Yeah.
He's just been blowing up lately. When I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
I told you about Wilson. Told you all about it. He's going to have a big year.
I just thought they'd be able to run a little bit.
You would have. And they actually did for a few weeks with Chris Carson.
I know. I looked so smart for about a week.
Number 2, Sammy Watkins.
Ooh, I was spot on that one.
Even more than you would have even expected, probably.
Yeah, I was. I'd take that one. I missed on Russell Wilson, but Sammy Watkins I stayed away from.
Number 3, Lamar Miller. We said he's just kind of what he is.
He was fine.
Number 4, Russell Wilson. Not a good call. Number 5, DeAndre Hopkins.
Dude, oh my God, I was so wrong on that one too.
Right?
I literally thought, and I already know like my thinking behind it. I was like, Tom Savage. They couldn't get it done with Osweiler. I don't think it's going to be a huge jump up. No one's on the other side of him. Oh, my gosh. I was so far off on Hopkins and Wilson. Terrible, terrible picks by me. But I don't feel bad about the other ones, though.
All right, my list. This is going to be interesting. My number 1, Allen Robinson.
Yeah, he got hurt. So you get a free pass on it.
Works out, right?
Yeah.
It works out. He was overvalued if you drafted him. Number 2, Christian McCaffrey. He was about top 15. I
think he's underproducing a bit.
Yeah, it's not
a bad call.
Number 3, Spencer Ware.
Dude, you're the angel of death on here. What is happening?
Told you to be overvalued.
Who's the next guy, Aaron Rodgers?
My number 4 was Tyreek Hill, who that's off on that one because he wasn't ranked. He was only ranked probably in the around 20th, and he's definitely I think outperformed that.
Yeah, I think he's number 3 or 2 right now or something.
Number 5, Michael Thomas.
Yeah, actually,
compared to where he was starting to get elevated to,
I was going to say
because he's fine. He just was getting elevated to a spot where I don't think he should have been. 6, 7 in the ranks, kind of a thing.
He's about 20th, but he was a top. He almost got to the top 5, like you said. So it actually still is a solid pick.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I think he was. I just thought he was getting a little too overvalued for where maybe he should have been. So yeah, I'm good with that one. And I think I'm going to skip our breakout players list, Jeff, because it's ugly. But that's the nature of it. It's breakouts. We're trying to. If we knew those guys would have been great,
it's also preseason.
Yep. The way Devontae Parker was on those lists, kind of a thing, and those kind of guys. Gillislee, it looked like he was good at one point, and just kind of. It took a step back.
I tell you, consistency, man, has been all over the board this year, with so many different players, and you can see yourself getting caught up in a lot of the hype with a lot of these guys. And Gillislee was one of them. He had a couple of games, 2 games in a row where he looked, like he was going to be a touchdown monster, but totally faded off.
Yeah, and I'll just admit I was so completely wrong on Sammy Watkins. That's my big mistake of the year.
Oh my God, that feels so good. Can we just take a moment?
Oh man, that was
let's enjoy this. Let it seep over you.
It was disappointing, very disappointing. What happened with him? He just wasn't good, and I really thought he was going to do something this year. And he got traded, so maybe that's something to do with it. But still, he's actually on a good team, and with a good running game, there's no excuse I think for it. It's just not very good at this point, right? It's.
Yep, he's just disappointment.
Man, kind of really. Maybe there's still hope for him in the future.
Yeah, I think in the future he's still insanely young. No doubt about it. Just this year, I think he's a wash.
Yep. All right, I'm gonna pull up. I'm just gonna pull up some early ranks here and see how these players have done for the year. Just a couple quick ones here. How about quarterbacks? Do you ever want to see where we did with quarterbacks, where we ranked them, how they end up turning out? I'm just going to pick some names here. Probably.
I can't wait. I know already now. Like we picked tried and true in the beginning, right? So we have
Rodgers, Brady, Breeze, Ryan.
Okay, and we're not that far. We're not far off on Brady, obviously. Aaron Rodgers, he got hurt. You can't really say too much about that. And Breeze, I think he's like 10th or around there right now.
Kirk Cousins was our 6th, which I think, actually, I'll say 5th. We had Andrew Luck on there at the time. It doesn't really count.
No, yeah.
So Kirk Cousins was our 5th, and I think he's been actually better than ranked. Sometimes he's been decent. So
yeah, he's right around there, and I still think that his best football is still ahead of him. I still hold by that because I was a huge Cousins guy. I think I am correct on that, and especially with all these guys above him, I still love him, and I think he's going to finish out real strong.
Russell Wilson was our 7th because you dragged him down.
No, but right now and not after they show that or whatever, he's going to jump up to like number 3, but that's about where he was a week ago, so I don't feel too bad about that.
I think we were wrong on Dak. He was our 14th.
Yeah, okay. I got to apologize to certain people, and Dak Prescott took a lot, but I think you dragged him down.
Yeah, it probably did.
A lot of hate.
Carson Wentz was our 22nd.
Okay, did anyone, there's a few people that saw that, and good for them, but I don't think anyone really had him in the top 10 or top 15.
I don't think you could really see that coming for how good he's been. Alex Smith, 25th.
Another guy. Okay, first of all, Carson Wentz, I can give that to, but if someone says they called Alex Smith, I call him full of crap.
We had a long history of Alex Smith doing nothing, right? Like, you had to think that was going to be...
Yeah. He has to be the most surprising player this season. Can you think of anyone else that has surprised you more?
No, I can't at all. I think he's been around the league for a long time. He came into the league the same year Aaron Rodgers did. So they've both played forever. Think how long Smith...
I think Alex Smith played before him.
He did, and he's just been mediocre forever. And to see that happen, just kind of a bit of a surprise, I thought. Look at our running backs. Actually, I think one that we did okay on, Jay Ajayi was our 9th, which was actually lower than some people. He was 6th, 7th in other ranks, so we were hesitant, which was good. Melvin Gordon, McCoy, we had the same usual suspects up at the top after, Johnson, Bell, Zeke. Let's see here. C.J. Anderson, I think, was decent. We had him 17th while he was getting ranked in the 20s in a lot of them. So he's been better. He's been okay. He's had some down weeks, but he's been pretty decent. And then, God.
C.J. Anderson's still in the top 15, so that was a really good call by us.
I don't even want to say this next name.
Which one is really bad?
I think people have forgotten that I might even have sort of hyped him at one point a little bit.
All right. Tell us about how you screwed everyone over in the preseason.
Eddie Lacy.
Oh, I totally forgot about Lacy. Yeah, you did kind of have
I liked him.
Affair with him.
I did, and I thought there's going to be more to it, and there wasn't anything to it.
Well, what's kind of funny is both of us thinking that the line was going to be different in Seattle than it was has screwed us both.
Because you thought it would be more of a running game and they'd do something too.
You thought Lacy was going to be good.
Yep.
I thought that Wilson wasn't going to be able to run as much.
Yep.
But what it turned into is no running back can run, and then Wilson just throws all the time. So it screwed both of us.
Really did. It's kind of disappointing.
And I'll say the other guy that he hasn't been overly impressive, but I think we were low on Blunt too. And I'm just might as well admit all of the ones that we went sideways on.
I still think he's no good.
I do too, but he's been playable. He's a top 20 running back, unbelievably.
All right, wide receiver wise, you had Dez up there at 6. Where has Dez been this year? I think he's still better than people were giving him credit for. They're ranking him outside of the top 10.
People are kind of losing their minds over him, but I think he was like, I don't know what he is right now, 15, something like that.
Yeah, which is fine. It's just...
Yeah, and I still think he's another guy that I think as the season ends, he will be in the top 10. I have no doubt. I think he's just had some really tough matchups to begin with, and I think finishes out way easier. So I still support Dez.
Sammy Watkins, we had overall consensus 18th.
Yeah, I blame you on that one.
You can take credit for it, right? It's our consensus ranks.
Yeah.
All right? And one thing I think we did okay on was Terrell Pryor. We ranked him higher than he's going to end up, that's for sure. But we were much lower than the rest of the people. Yeah. We had about 21st. And I just remember when that happened. We got
a lot of hate for that one, actually.
We got yelled at here. Pryor's too low. Pryor's 6 to 7 spots too low.
Pryor. He was almost in the top 20, and it's almost so bad by us, but
And then even Martavis Bryant, we had at like 23rd. Somebody wrote here, Bryant at 23. y'all sleeping on him. No, I don't think we were. Don't think we were at all. He's no good. He's no good, right? I think that one worked out in our favor. But, some of these we hit, some we don't. That's what happens. But that's why the thing is, we ranked him like this, and so we hit on some, we missed big on some, but look at if we talk about our rank, our leagues we're in right now. This is why draft is only one small part of it. We didn't hit on everything, but let's say in our main big money league, Jeff, you're 6-2. Right, I'm 5-3. Our other secondary league, you're 6-2. I'm 6-2. So those are our main two leagues, and it's because waiver wire pickups, making the right moves. You're not going to hit on everything in the draft. You're just not going to.
And I think a big part of it too is kind of avoiding the pitfalls. You definitely don't want to draft a guy that is completely going to derail you. And I think a lot of those guys, even though say we don't have Michael Thomas, we still ranked him in say number 12 or what do we have him. He was going before that. So it still made us if he dropped to us, we would have got him.
Yep.
But at that rank, we would have been okay with it. Same thing with Terrell Pryor. It wouldn't have killed us, but he won before us. So, kind of hesitating is not always the worst thing. So we ended up getting guys that are a little more tried and true and have getting production all year. Even like Keenan Allen, not as much as, say I hyped him up. He was in I think number 10 for me. But still, I pick a guy there, say, and he ends up as number 17th as a wide receiver. It doesn't kill you. And I think that was the big thing. It was the logic behind it was still solid even when we missed.
Is there any players that you think could bounce back from how poorly they've played this year? Is there anybody you still think are going to do something?
Yeah, I mean, the guy that we have to talk about is Cooper.
Yeah.
He's been one of the biggest disappointments, but at the same time, you're starting to see flashes, and I think he could kind of turn it around. I think he still has big playability. So he's one, but he was so far gone that it's not too hard to turn around.
Yep.
So, I mean, he literally could put up 10 points and that'd be a huge week for him now. But he's a guy. And I'm trying to think if there's anyone else that was lower that we had high. I honestly think Pryor is I think he's done for, which doesn't bother me that much. I think I can't see too many, at least wide receiver. I think there's more in running back. Well, what about you? Do you see any here?
I still have faith in J.J. I think he's going to bounce back and be good the rest of this year. I think if you have a chance to buy him low right now, I think I would do it. Maybe you don't get many running backs that get that many carries. If that line can improve at all, even slightly, I think he'll be much better and he'll be in pretty good shape. So I'm going to go with the Jai. Yeah. I think he's going to bounce back a little bit here.
I think another one that has a possibility is Mixon. I think we finally kind of hit the point of the year where, they're seeing everything that could possibly happen. I think Mixon is going to just kind of get in a groove here. And right now, he's in the mid-30s, and he was ranked obviously far above that. So I think he's another one that I think you could grab. And obviously Adrian Peterson too, but that's because of the change of scenery.
Yep.
And obviously, and then Doug Martin has been doing well, so we actually were pretty good on that one as well.
So who do you think going forward, let's say running back, who will be the top running back in the league at the end of the year? Who's it going to be? Which one's going to end the year number one? Can you go with the normal Bell, or is it Hunt, Gurley, Fournette?
When looking at the numbers, it makes the most sense that it's going to be Bell. If I had to put money on it, I would say him.
I would too. I go with the tried and true.
and really the first 2 weeks, 4.7, 9.1, and then he was only below a double digits one game, and that was against Jacksonville, who was the best defense in the league.
Yep.
When he had 9.3. So he's a guy that they absolutely need him to make the push. I think he's going to end up being number one. I think the question is who ends number two. Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be Gurley or Hunt.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you think Gurley or Hunt? Because as of late, Gurley has been kind of outperforming Hunt a bit.
I think I would go Gurley and then Hunt. That's how I would do it. Too.
And he's only had really one bad game too, and that was against Seattle. Yep. Both week 5.
All right, yeah, I think that's what. Okay, well now one last thing. Quarterback. Who from here on out? Who's the top quarterback? there's not that surefire you can say Aaron Rodgers anymore. So Brady, Breeze, Watson, Wilson, Wentz.
You know, I can't believe I'm going to say this.
It's weird that those are the names.
I know. If yeah, I hate myself so much because no matter who I say, it's not going to be who I want. I think Wentz is going to be the most consistent. I like him game in, game out. But I honestly think that the guy that's going to win a lot of people leagues is going to be Watson.
Crazy, right?
I know, but he has a good he has good matchups down the stretch. He's been putting up huge freaking games. I mean, the last oh my god. I mean, really, he hasn't scored below 24 points since week 3.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, and the week before that was 17, and then the week before that, Jacksonville, and he didn't play a full game. Like, the last 4 games has been unbelievable. 41, 45, 29, 40, and now he's going against Indianapolis, which I think could actually hinder him a bit. But then Rams, Arizona, Baltimore, Tennessee, San Fran. And the only bad thing is week 15, which is going to be playoff time, Jacksonville, at Jacksonville. So, take note of that because that is definitely not – I don't think it's one of them you really want to play him against. But, if he keeps slinging the ball, even if he throws 4 interceptions, he can still put up numbers.
I'm going to say Tom Brady.
after all of that.
I was going to go Russell Wilson, and then he plays Jacksonville week 14, and he's going to have down weeks. I'm just going to go with the old Tom Brady here. And
the only thing I don't like about Tom Brady, I mean, there's not a whole lot not to like about him, but seriously, after this bye week, the next 5 out of 6 games are away. I don't care who you are, that takes a toll.
It does. That's ugly. It's still going to be Brady.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone is going to disagree with you on that one because he's so freaking good.
It'll probably end up being like Alex Smith then.
If he continues, if he ends as the number 1 quarterback, I will be just so impressed.
Yeah, that would be actually very impressive. But yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. But
all right, and I had to ask just because tight end. What are your predictions for the rest of the year?
Travis Kelce, number 1. He's going to be number 1. Gronk's going to get hurt.
Oh, I was going to say, you don't think Gronk is going to be number 1?
He's going to get hurt at some point. And it's going to be, all Travis Kelce, number 1, and Hunter Henry's going to be number 3 from here on out after Ertz.
Ooh, well, I like that.
And also, Marlon Mack, D.D. Westbrook, get them on your teams. Breakout potential here.
And I do have to say, I know, and I have to say this, I know we had mentioned how rookies struggle mightily in their first year as a tight end. And we warned that some of these guys are a little more like a wide receiver. And as soon as Beckham went down, we told people to pick up Ingram. And I do think Ingram will finish in the top 5. I think he'll finish probably number 4 behind the other ones we just talked about. But he's another guy that I think is
and it's all situation for him. There's just nobody really to throw the ball. I mean, maybe Sterling Shepard, and he's looked good. I mean, Ingram's looked really good. I give him that. And
I mean, last 2 games, Denver and Seattle, which are obviously usually good defenses. Without Beckham, he caught a touchdown in both.
Yep. All right, I think that's going to do it though for our little midseason summary. It's always interesting to look back.
Yeah, I feel
on what
like
was going on.
We really focused on how we effed up.
Hey, but that's what we're transparent here. We don't just want to tell everybody how great we were and everything. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to have some. We're going to have some hits, as you saw by our super deep sleeper list. Like that's really way down the list, and we actually have a couple guys that we saw could possibly happen. We didn't even talk about this. We hyped up Zach Ertz a lot on the show, and
yes, we did.
And I hyped up Russell Wilson a lot. So. Just things like that, and there's other players like that we definitely hoped you guys got on your team. We kept talking about, and works out. But then again, this is just all the players we end up talking about a lot were players that are maybe down those a little bit. You still want to get the top guys. If you get the top guys, that's what you still have to worry about getting.
Yeah, which people we don't talk about, and at the same time, that's not going over waiver pickups or anything like that. This 2.5 months ago,
Alvin Kamara
did. And here's another one that we hyped up a lot. And I mean, I do have to say this though. This was completely a guess, but at the same time, we did hype up the idea that it would make the most sense to trade one of those guys, AP, and then 2 weeks later it happens, and we look like geniuses because we had picked up Kamara and everything.
Yeah, so
another one.
But it's just fun to look back and see what we've been doing. But yeah, I mean, we don't take it. It's cool when we make a good call, but it's not like we take it too seriously. It's just we try to make the right decisions we think at the time and, the right ideas. But the draft is only one part of a season here. And that's kind of what that shows. You can have a bad draft and still be perfectly fine. Because, all the injuries, you never know what's going to happen. If you might have had a great draft and got David Johnson. Maybe you even had Aaron Rodgers and David Johnson and Odell. What if you even have Odell Beckham? What if you have this insane team and you're screwed now? You could have had the best draft in the world.
It happens all the time. We have a team in our league, and luckily he's in my division, but I don't know how many, busted, ACLs one team can take.
Yep.
He's making a run for it. So it's just one of those things. You draft as deep and as good of a team as you can possibly do, and you just know that you're going to have to make moves during the year because it's impossible to pick a perfect team.
Yep. All right. I think that's going to do it. We'll be back one more episode this week. We get to review the Thursday night game. How pumped are you about this, Jeff? Bills, Jets.
In a weird way, I kind of want to see if the Jets can keep proving me wrong. McCown keep slinging those touchdowns.
We'll find out. Robbie Anderson, 100 yards. Maybe. Let's see. We'll talk to you guys later.